Hello, and welcome to another edition of Academic Matters. I'm Joe Marbach, the Provost at LaSalle University. In this segment, I'm joined by Dr. Rosemary Barbera, who's an Associate Professor in the Social Work Program. Rosemary, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And I guess I should say welcome back to LaSalle, because you were here in another lifetime, in another capacity, and then went on to complete your degree in social work, and you were up at Monmouth University?
That's correct, yes.
And then came back this year. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that journey, how you ended up here at LaSalle in the first place, and then how you end up back.
So I think I've kind of been back and forth to LaSalle. I started coming to LaSalle as a child, actually, when I was in basketball camps when I was in grammar school. Wow. And I knew that I wanted to come here as a student, so I graduated from LaSalle. After I graduated, I stayed on and worked a couple years before moving on, and then I moved out of the country. And I was living in Bolivia and then in Chile when a job opened here, and I was getting ready to move back to the United States, and I applied for the job and was offered the position. And so when we came back to the US, I came back to LaSalle, at first in campus ministry and then in what was called then the Center for Community Learning.
Okay.
And I was here for a long time, about 9 years in that position. Moved into teaching in the social work program just for a year when I started my doctoral work.
Okay.
And then
where did you do your doctoral work?
At Bryn Mawr College.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So right in the area?
So it was just a one-year position. They were, just not a tenure track position. And so from there, I finished my doctorate, and I worked at Westchester at Temple, and then when I was finished my doctorate, I went to Monmouth.
Okay.
On a tenure track position. Yeah.
And then last year, we
were
lucky enough to bring you back with an opening.
Yeah. It was. So. I was very happy to see the position open.
Yeah. Now, for folks at home that may be familiar with social workers or may not be, what does a social worker do? And what are we trying to teach our students? What's distinctive about our program at LaSalle?
Neat, yeah. So in some ways, I often say to students, social workers do so much that it's a blessing and a curse. So, there's so much to choose from, with the same degree, but then sometimes it makes it difficult to focus. But there are many people in social work who have kind of redefined themselves through their lives. So they may start out in geriatric social work and move to child welfare and then go into hospital work and do community organizing. So social work encompasses all of those things. And here at LaSalle, we have just a BSW program, and that means it's what's called generalist practice. So we prepare students to work in just about any area, but not in what they call the advanced or a concentration kind of a way. So we wouldn't have people, for example, doing therapy or clinical social work. That comes with the master's degree. But our students go on and they can work in child welfare, and they might work for the city, or they might work for a private agency, or they go into hospital social work, and they could work with geriatrics in the hospital, with oncology, with pediatrics. They may go and do policy work, and so they might work with legislators at the local or state or national level. And so our program focuses, and tries to get students working in all of those areas. They might work in mental health, in addictions, in schools. We have a number of students this year working in schools.
Okay.
And so they might help with individualized educational programs for the students in the schools, or they might work with the counselor and organize events with parents or meetings with parents and things like that.
So it sounds as if what social workers do is solve problems.
Yes.
Wherever people have problems, and part of what we're doing is developing those problem-solving skills in our students that are transferable.
Right.
That, people have all types of problems, and they may be unique to the elderly or unique to the young, but at the heart of it, it's some issue that our people help cut through bureaucracies and other types of events. Is that fair?
I think it's solving problems together with people, because one of the things we often say is, people are the experts in their own lives, and they come to us with a lot of experiences, but they might not know how to use those experiences to kind of create a path to get out of whatever the situation is. So we look at people's strengths, and we look at, social workers sometimes work with the most vulnerable people in society, and they have great amounts of resilience. but they might not recognize it. And so we work with them to kind of recognize that resilience they have and then help them understand how they can use it in other situations to improve the quality of their life.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that you empower people.
Well,
in
they
a-
empower
in a-
themselves.
Okay, you
Yeah.
show them how to empower
Right. Like
themselves.
what I say is we help create the conditions where people and communities can empower themselves. So kind of we work together to kind of help them be able to get to that point.
Now, is there anything distinctive about the LaSallian program in the nature of being a Catholic university, or is there a Catholic approach to social work that might vary?
There's not so much. There is a Christian association of social workers, but there's not really a Catholic association. But I think LaSalle particularly, I think there are two things. One, if we look just at LaSalle geographically, we're in the heart of an urban area, which gives us, access to so much. So many learning opportunities and so many communities where we could work and so many people we can learn from, quite frankly. But then the second aspect of LaSalle that I think is really critical goes back to John Baptist de LaSalle, and his commitment to working with the underserved, the vulnerable, the oppressed in society, which is what social workers do, right? And sometimes, he gave up some wealth and prestige in society to do that. And in some ways, social workers also are kind of throwing their lot with people who aren't always considered first in society. And I think that kind of commitment really goes along very well with LaSalle University's commitment to LaSallian values and particularly social justice.
Yeah, so those LaSallian values clearly are transmitted and transferred and articulated by the social work program in many ways.
Yes.
Now, you'd mentioned that many of our students are now working in schools. One of the other principles of LaSallian education is a practical element. So our students are all involved in various internships or practica. What are some of those experiences, and how much time do the students spend with the agencies?
So from the Introduction to Social Work class, we have students doing a community-based learning experience. So they're volunteering in some aspect. It may be through a program on campus, or it may be somewhere else where they know. We want them from the very start of their social work curriculum to be out in the field, to understand some of the dynamics, and to be reflecting on that experience through what they're learning in class. So a number of our classes have those kind of volunteer experience, but then when students are juniors, they
and that volunteer, so they're applying principles they've learned in class. They said, okay, this is what I've seen.
Right, so they write a journal.
Okay.
Yeah, so they go out into the field and then they write a journal, and there's some kind of prompt questions for them in the syllabus that they can talk about, like, oh, how does this relate to what we're learning in class, or what further questions do I have about the situation?
Okay.
And when they are juniors, they start to prepare to go out for their internship. And they do 1 semester internship in the junior year for 200 hours. And then in the senior year, they do 200 hours each semester. And so we work with them to see, where do they see themselves in 5 years? What groups do they want to work with? What groups don't they want to work with? Why don't they want to work with those groups? Try to understand some of those dynamics and try to help them chart a course that will give them really good experience when they leave here. So many people go on for graduate work, but to help them either in the field or to get, advanced towards graduate work.
Okay, so the students will have 300 hours.
They'll have 600 hours.
600 hours in the field. And is that a different experience? Are there almost tracks, you'll work with seniors and you'll work with young people, or you'll work in a medical?
It's all different. So we have students now working, some in the schools, as I said, some in hospitals, some in drug and alcohol rehabilitation. We have students with ex-offenders, students with elderly. There's a little bit of everything. And so it really depends. I sit down one-on-one with the students and talk a little bit about, before me, Donna Fiedler, the chair, did that, but what is it that, what's their priority? Like, what kind of work do they want to do? Children and families? Do they want to work in communities? Do they want to work with the elderly? And so then we kind of look at our community partners, the agencies where we've sent students before, and we send students out for interviews. So they have to go out and interview, and it's good practice for interviewing too. We tell them, to dress professionally, to speak professionally, to carry their resume with them, to make sure they're on time. All of that's that important kind of stuff when you're going for a job interview.
And do you find that many of these agencies do in fact hire our students after their experience?
That's a good question. So since I'm just back a few weeks now, I'm not really sure of what the hiring rate is. I know that there are a number of graduates in agencies, but I don't know what that practice is. I can say from my past experience that's the case.
Okay.
That typically happens. Oftentimes, though, as I said, a student will go on for graduate work right away. When you get a BSW degree from a program like LaSalle that's accredited by the Council on Social Work Education, you have the opportunity to do a graduate degree in a year instead of 2 years.
Oh, so an accelerated graduate program.
Right. So a lot of students opt to do that right away. Plus, we have a really diverse group of students in terms of race, ethnicity, and age. So we've got some students whose families are grown, and so they want to get out there and get the graduate degree right away. So a lot of them will immediately go for what's called advanced standing. And so then after that, then they'll be looking for employment.
Well, I know every spring the social work department invites the host agencies to come and celebrate the seniors who are graduating. And you're right, I was very impressed with the diversity of our student body and the commitment that they have to these agencies. And likewise, the commitment that these agencies have to our students. So, I've gone to 4 of these lunches, and I see the same people in the room. They're coming back. They're using our students all the time. So we're making an impact out there.
And I think LaSalle, and I can say this from, before and now too, LaSalle has a really good reputation in the field. I mean, people know that the students coming out of our program are really well prepared, and so they can count on them to be good workers. And the other element there is the social workers have a code of ethics, the National Association of Social Worker Code of Ethics, and one of the ethical responsibilities is to serve the profession, and that includes supervising students. Someone did it for you, so it's kind of like it's your turn now to do it for someone else, and people take that really seriously, right? Because they're very appreciative of the field experiences that they've had, and they want to make sure that this generation of students likewise has a good field experience.
So I imagine a number of our alumni are in fact sponsoring our students, so you've got this extended family in the Philadelphia region.
Yeah, that's true.
How wide are these? Does it go all throughout the Delaware Valley? We have folks in New Jersey and the suburbs?
This year we don't have anyone in New Jersey, but we do have some folks in the suburbs. And in our new accelerator program, we'll have more people in the suburbs next semester.
Okay. Rosemary, we're just about out of time. If somebody wants more information, they should go to the LaSalle website and look up the Department of Social Work?
Yes, that's where they can find more information.
And they could probably send you an email at barbera@lasalle.edu.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks.
I appreciate this.
I enjoyed.
My guest has been Dr. Rosemary Barbera, Associate Professor in the Department of Social Work. Please stay tuned. When we come back, we'll be joined by Dr. Conrad Gleber in the Department of Digital Arts.
There's something for everyone at LaSalle TV.
I watch LaSalle TV.
I watch LaSalle TV. The baseball team watches LaSalle TV.
I watch LaSalle TV.
I watch LaSalle TV.
Miro Televisión de LaSalle.
Vedo io la televisione LaSalle.
Eu debluș LaSalle cu televiziu, дуже вона мене.
我睇電視
And you can too. Follow us, like us, and watch us on LaSalle TV.
Hungry for LaSalle TV? Check us out on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. Check out our Twitter. And continue watching LaSalle TV.
Tired of your boring life? Nothing exciting going on anymore? Sick of only doing what you have to do? Tired of the mundane routine? Well, hold up. We have the cure for you. That's right, LaSalle TV. With sports, news, game shows, and more, you'll be sure to find exactly what you've been needing. LaSalle TV. We know you watch.
Welcome back to Academic Matters. Once again, I'm Joe Marbach, the Provost here at LaSalle University. In this segment, I'm joined by Dr. Conrad Gleber, who is the Chair of the Department of Digital Arts at LaSalle. Conrad, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about how you ended up here at LaSalle and why you've stayed as long as you have.
Well, it doesn't seem long, for sure. It's been almost 10 years, but I was running a program in digital arts at Florida State University, and I had been living up here and had a publishing and printing business in New York, and then sold that, went back to academia, worked on a doctorate, and during that time I had that position in the art department at Florida State. Then wanted to get back up to the Northeast, so it was really just a matter of, kids were graduating high school, going to college, and I definitely wanted to pick up where I'd left off, sort of. LaSalle had, at that time, Peg McCoy was running the program. She stepped down, and there was an opening. As I read the job description and was posted, I thought that someone had been following me around for a while, because it read just exactly what I felt my skills were. Interview process went through, was offered the position back in 05-06, and at that time Peg had built an amazing program. It was ready to go to the next level. Digital arts is not something that's very stable. It's radically influenced by developments in technology, both in a kind of social environment. You see a lot of social media, and then also just in improving what was already around. I think we're now in Photoshop 8 or 9. I mean, it just keeps going.
Let's take a step back, and for folks at home, when you say digital arts, you mean more than just what I'm doing on my iPhone with the camera, right? It's a much more involved field. So what are our students learning? And as you said, about the pace of change, how greatly does that influence the curriculum?
Well, there's a few things that are special about LaSalle with digital arts that we don't find in that many other schools. One is our digital arts program is actually in math and computer science. And that's significant because the nature of this emerging field of art and design is much more responsible to and complicit with social structures, social relationships. There's literally a never before seen public space called the internet and the web, and artists and designers working with that public space is kind of a brand new challenge, both to artists and designers, but also a lot of other areas tangential to it. So, for instance, I'm teaching a course in public history in the history department. So we're seeing the canons of practice in many areas sort of going through some abrupt and sometimes dramatic changes based on the way in which digital agency is affecting what used to be kind of the way things are done. So in our curriculum, frankly, I like to see students kind of by their senior year start to branch out on their own and find a real special place. I always tell them, you've got to find your own beach and really enjoy and push. And so we have a very broad spectrum of interest, but also students' facility for making and contributing to the field at that level, through internships, through research projects, special topic courses.
What are some of the projects that our students have done? I know there's some of them are designing websites, but
Yeah.
some are using 3D printers, and
Sure.
you brought a sample.
No, probably web is the central most important skill because of that public space. You know, if you're going to publish, which is what we try and drive students to when they complete their work, that it's really not completed just to see it in a classroom, but really to put it out there in the public.
What's a published work?
Well,
how do
for
you
instance,
define that?
you know, just if a student's doing, you know, animated video projects, they're putting them out there for other people to see.
Okay.
The website courses, we expect students to have those available for anyone in the world to look at. Also, books, in the typography class, the students will produce their own type book, develop their own, you know, typographic fonts. We've had a couple of students make some good money just posting posting type fonts and
I think
licensing them up.
Yeah, we have a student that apparently got the copyright for a particular type or
Well,
font?
it's one of the assignments where you have to develop your own typeface, and you know, all of this at the end of the course is a capstone where they produce a book, and that book is up on a publishing website where anyone can buy that book.
Okay.
So it's important, I think, to the program. You know, LaSalle really. I think some of the values that LaSalle is ingrained in the LaSallian vision, et cetera, fit really well in the way in which I see designers and artists to be, you know, much more complicit in the way the, you know, social structures are formed and what they can contribute and in a sense, social justice issues, just making the world a better place, and taking your design skills beyond simply selling another something, and actually trying to create valuable change, leaving the world a better place.
Yeah.
It's important.
It sounds very interdisciplinary in the
Yes.
approach. Yeah. So who else are you working with on campus?
Well, Margie Allen, one of the first projects we did was record the digital stories of, I think it was about 80 middle school students telling stories about what it was like growing up in a very toxic neighborhood, Grover Washington Middle School, which is not too far from here. And they were given cameras and they took photographs, and then we narrated those photographs with their stories. It was a very moving piece. It was shown around Philadelphia. It had a lot of power in the sense that here's the children's voices coming through. Now it took our art students did all the production, did all the recording, gathered all the sound files, and helped the students to put those into a CD that then was distributed. You know, so made a lot of impact. Later, well, the history department came up with a public history grad degree, and so I sort of helped participate in that because the goal of the public history researcher is to actually put their historical research online. I mean, in a sense, the distinguishing part of public history is that it makes itself known and available outside simply academic research.
And it's public, right? Yeah.
Yeah, in a lot of cases it's about, and Philadelphia is a wonderful place to have that kind of research going on. So it's, we collaborate across, and then hopefully, just bring other people in at any time to help do stuff. We sort of trying to teach a student how to adapt to others' problems and figure out how they can contribute, to articulating what needs to be done to get that subject understood.
Okay.
So
now you brought a prop. I think.
Yeah,
because this was made
so
by a 3D printer. So
I tell the
3D
students,
printer?
when they're freshmen, I said, I'll look at them and I'll say, by the time you're a senior, I'm not sure what I'm going to be teaching you, and this is one of the classic cases. 3D printing came out a while back. It's an old, but it's very, very expensive then. Now we're down to a very inexpensive machine. Students learn the coding to create this in sort of a virtual form, and then that is supplied to the printer, and the printer literally makes it, just prints it like a print coming out of your laser writer.
So, and I've always thought that calling it a 3D printer was a little misnomer, or it's really a fabricating machine, right? It's fabricating something.
Yeah, it used to be considered rapid prototyping. You could make one, see how it worked, you know,
And then you
test
decide
it
whether
and-
you wanted to
and
build an
evaluate it.
assembly line of these
many.
widgets
Right,
or
right.
whatever. And
Exactly.
I understand that last spring, a student built a digital printer out of digital printer parts, or made on a digital printer.
No, our
or something.
digital printer broke apart, and he simply printed the part. So it's sort of what they just sent one up on the space station for the same purpose.
To be able to
Yeah.
make replacement parts.
Yeah, up there,
So is that something in the future? Are we all going to have
we're going to have an astronaut alumni? I don't
an
know.
astronaut, or are we going to have a digital printer in our house so that
Well, it's
if something
possible.
breaks,
I
we
mean,
can-
there's always, that's the thing about digital arts, there's always that, you know, I've seen the future and it's still in the future, so we always have that aspect of it where there's a lot of hyperbole surrounding it. But for the most part, it's, you never know what's coming up next. And so the students, you know, a lot of what we teach is adaptability. you know, and,
Now, once they get their degree, what's next for students? Are they going on for graduate degrees, or are they just right out into the workforce? Are they creating their own companies?
Well, the students by the senior year, almost all students have interned or even done
Okay.
research projects on their own and published those. So we had a student intern at Marvel Comics, and they went on to continue working. Student went into, well, Lockheed hired one of our students to deal with stuff. They just go in all kinds of places. I mean, there's no telling. A few students will go to grad school. Some students go on to, say, study at a kind of, especially those students interested in game design. They'll go to an institute that's focused directly on that, because that's a very
So it
long
really is
involved.
a gateway kind of major for whatever.
Yeah, and the
student-
students, I mean, I tell parents and tell students too when they come to look, you know, we're a liberal arts school. You're going to learn why you want to do things,
Okay.
not just how to do
Well,
things.
Conrad, we're out of time.
Oh.
Thank you for sharing with it. My guest has been Dr. Conrad Gleaver. He's the director of the Digital Arts Program, also known as DART, but we don't throw them, here on campus. Please stay tuned when we come back. Oh, we're actually done. That's our segment. Watch us the next time when Academic Matters airs. Thank you. My name's Joe Marbach. I'm the provost here at LaSalle University.